right. Good evening, guys, and welcome back to the Shadow Mark podcast. I'm here tonight. I'm Derek Thompson, as always. With me tonight, as my special guest co host, is Mr. Jeff Florum. And he'll be here tonight to kind of lead me, keep me from going astray. We're super excited tonight to have our special guest, Mr. Tom Ettinger. And he's doing a lot of big things in the community right now as far as veterans and veteran suicide goes, and we're very excited to have him. Tom, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, man, I appreciate you having me. I'm glad we're actually doing this and finally getting it done. Like you said, my name is Tom Ettinger, Marine Corps veteran, retired from the Marine Corps after 20 years, 2 years ago this month. Um, after my time in the Marine Corps, while I was in the Marine Corps, deployed to Afghanistan, I did a administrative job in the air wing, and then I got stuck on recruiting duty, and that's where parallels in life really changed for me, because once I went on recruiting duty, I saw life differently.
Yep.
Did my 3 years on recruiting duty, went back to the fleet, and then it was just eating at me to go back, because I was a recruiter in Philadelphia, and what we were actually doing is actually changing lives. You know what I mean? So
Right.
with your first hands doing that, it changes. Like, everyone always hear about recruiting duty, about a quota, a mission, how many you can get to join. That doesn't matter if that person is not committed, mentored, ready to go before they even ship. Because if they don't ship, then what's the point? So I got addicted to that. Came back, did my time, became a career recruiter after that, and then retired. I retired up in Pennsylvania, up in RS Harrisburg, and then after I retired, I had I guess downtime, a lot of downtime, because during my retirement was when coronavirus was kicking off. So I got a lengthy time off, a lot of time off that I wasn't
Right.
used to. So there was a lot of time sitting at home, a lot of time trying
Too
to
much
adjust.
time to think.
Absolutely, being able to just get my mind moving. I started doing 75 hard. I started working with a first form app. I started doing things because I felt like that was, this is the new thing. While I was getting out, while I was preparing to retire, I went and I got my personal trainer certificate and my strength and conditioning certificate to be a trainer, because I thought that's where I was headed.
That's
I
incredible.
was working out. I was doing all these things. So I was like, you know what? This is going to be the easy life when I retire. And the longer I did it, I started getting more and more inspired on Instagram for seeing Red Friday. And when I was in, you really don't see all that. And at the time, so that started weighing heavy on me. Like, when I retired, I kind of drifted away from everybody, that I served with. You get that, like, I fell into like an isolation kind of thing, where being off so long before I retired, I kind of like became an introvert, huge introvert, where
Well,
I
you're
was
just
just,
also being encouraged. You're just being
oh,
encouraged by everybody. Isolate, isolate, isolate.
but I dug it. I loved it. See, I loved it.
You're like, yeah, everybody stay the fuck away from me.
I mean, I lived on Carlisle Barracks, where they train the officers for the Army, and I had it made. I could do whatever I wanted on base. I could go work out. I could do whatever, and I was off. Like, it was good. But after I retired, like I said, it just started, that passion, this is what I want to do. That just kind of drifted away. It kind of goes away, in waves. Like, what could I do now to replace my mind from running, 24 hours a day, from being busy? What can I do now? And I just started exploring different things, trying to. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So you had a chance to do a lot of things in that free time and to try to kind of spread yourself out and really dive into what helps you and what's getting you mentally prepared, right?
Absolutely. I think that was the best transitioning I could do, I think, because I was in an environment that was isolated. I didn't have no stress, no worries, no nothing. So it was the best until I moved. And then life kept happening. And then it's like then it becomes real overwhelming. And then we moved to Arkansas, and I'm from New Jersey originally, but I love it out here.
I
Like
think we actually kind of just talked about this not too long ago. Maybe it hadn't been today or yesterday, but a lot of guys do. They come from the city and then they join the military or the Marine Corps or whatever they do. What kind of a culture shock was like that like for you?
I think it was inviting at the time because up in Pennsylvania, it was mass central. Like it was 6 feet, everything was locked down, but everyone was out. You know what I mean? Like everything was
Right.
locked down. Walmarts were packed, Targets were packed, and like it was just to come here, people are different, environment's different, masks were optional. So it was just like a different, like it became more freeing. I got two traffic lights in town. Like, I mean, I
I,
went I went from like, it took 20 minutes to get off Carlisle Barracks just to go into the town. And then now it takes me, 20 minutes just to get to town, but it's just on a mountain road.
that's
So it's
incredible.
just I can't complain.
Yeah,
But
it's hard
so
to complain about. I get the small town life, man. I think the past two places I've lived, I think the one of them had one stoplight and the other one had no stoplights. It had a bar, a corner store, and that was it.
that's all you need.
I mean, and 60 people. So it was awesome. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it was like me rednecking for a solid 6 months,
Hmm.
and it was just awesome. Uh, but I want to send us back a little bit. We'll go back to your beginning of your story. So you joined the Marine Corps. Where'd you go to boot camp?
I went to boot camp in Paris Island. I went to boot camp February 12th, 2001.
Jeez, man. So that was you went in and you probably didn't plan on having anything happen.
I
You went
didn't
in on
plan.
Abe Lincoln's birthday. I want to point that out. That's
What's
Abe
up?
Lincoln's birthday.
February 12th.
Yeah, you're patriotic.
Yeah,
Man.
way to go, man. Good
You
for
know what
you. Here's to you.
thank you. I retired on the Marine Corps birthday, November 10th. So you
November.
got to strategically plan these dates out.
You really do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. And because, yeah. So what led up to you joining the Marine Corps? What was that like? What that look like for Tom?
So I went to a technical high school. Uh, I graduated with my license in HVAC. I got right out of high school into a job doing, heating and air. I had my refrigerations license. I had everything you could get right out of tech school that, those jobs are dying now, but, and sprinting into the world thinking, this was going to be, I was going to be working now, coffee, cigarette breaks, as streaming, back hurts, all of this. And it turned into, I was just going to the supply house. It wasn't as exciting as I hoped. And so it started, that I was getting paid maybe $200 a week, $250 a week. So, I mean, and I was driving an hour a day. Just graduated high school. I mean, $200, that money was gone over the weekend. So I was just working to live. And then my wife's brother has two my wife has two brothers that were in the Marine Corps and a neighbor that lived down the street. And I don't have no family members that joined the Marine Corps or anything, but I went and I spoke to him. So I asked him that question. I said, "Why, if you don't mind me asking, why'd you join?" Because he joined during Vietnam, and he told me because he was mad at the world. And I said, "Yeah, I'm mad at the world too." So that's all it took. That's all it took. I said, "All right, I'm joining the Marine Corps."
That does make the Marine Corps list of the reasons to join. It's like, I hate everyone,
Absolutely.
screw everyone. I'm joining the Marine Corps for sure. Like that's it, man. And I love that for you. That was what inspired you. So you joined in 2000 February 2001.
I signed up September 2000.
Okay.
I shipped to recruit training February 12th. And then I was stationed late July, early August down in New River Air Station down on Lejeune area in
Gotcha.
North Carolina.
So
And
did you
then
say what your MOS was?
it was 6046. It was Aircraft Maintenance Administration.
Okay.
So basically our jobs was every helicopter, C-130, 53, 46, Osprey, whatever it is, all those parts are serialized and they're tracked by months, kind of like a vehicle, right?
Right.
All those items were tracked, and we were in charge of tracking those items every time they went and did a flight, and anytime anything broke or anything, we did all the bookkeeping basically for all that. So it was exhilarating as being a librarian, really.
I like that you were like, I joined the Marine Corps because it was too boring doing HVAC, and then now look at me.
Yeah, then 9/11 hit. I got married on the 16th of September.
Jeez.
We loaded up planes and everything. They went up to Pennsylvania. But other than that, I think we didn't do anything till March. I think March 2003. We chopped over to the ACE unit to be the 22nd MEU.
Nice.
So I think after 9/11, I got married. I came back and I was on guard duty, heavy guard duty for a little bit.
I imagine.
Yeah,
So when 9/11 happened, what was that like for you? I mean, emotionally going through that?
It was
because, like I said, you joined. You probably weren't expecting something like that.
no,
by any
not
means.
at all. I mean, I think it was different because it was such a shock because we were at work. Like I remember at work, someone busting in and saying what happened. Like we were just working, and then I think I went to it was like chow, and we left, and it wasn't until we left the flight line there where you could see, you know, PMO police were everywhere. They had the dogs out. The front gate was locked down. They shut all the flight line gates, and that was the beginning of just like how it is now, I guess. Like everything is so heavily. I remember driving on Lejeune. You just had to hold your ID out the window, and they just waved you on. And then after that, stripped body searches to get on. So I mean, like that. It changed. It changed a lot. It changed to where a lot of the people I worked with were old Marines that came from artillery, motor T, tracks, tanks, and the longer they were in their career, they went to the aviation. So I had some hard dogs in charge of me. So when this popped off, this was like they were all about it.
They were ready to kill.
So the unit I was with, we chopped to the MEU. We went to HMM 266. When we chopped, my unit went straight to Djibouti. So whatever operations they were doing in North Africa and Djibouti then, and then we got chopped like almost a year early before the MEU even left.
I want you to know how hard it is not to make a Djibouti joke when you talk about that. I really held that one in. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that right now. But that's
Absolutely.
Awesome. So you end up with a bunch of hard chargers, and then kind of everything's rolling. How do you end up on recruiting duty?
So when I came back from Afghanistan, I re-enlisted, and I went to a non-deployable unit when they were just turning the CH-46s into the Ospreys. So they were shutting down all the 46 stations and schooling those kids out, and then all those units were becoming what we have now as the Ospreys. So
Gotcha.
So I was in a non-deployable unit. That got boring. The unit I was with that deployed, they turned around 6 months later, went to Iraq.
Right.
and there I was sitting there for another year not doing anything. So I was like, you know what? A couple buddies of mine, they were all drill instructors, but they went out to San Diego because it was nicer weather and all this. So I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what?
in a better boot camp.
I say, yeah, you know what? That's where I'm going. So, well, no, I caught that. I caught it. I just don't.
I just had
ignore
to. I just had to throw it out there because I know you said that Paris Island's the best boot camp, so I had to throw that
Not to
out
have me
there.
back on, you could tell me about all the mountains you climbed during boot camp. So
Yeah, heck yeah, man.
Hey,
you can
how are
tell,
your
you can
stress
tell me
cards?
about the sand fleas.
How are your stress cards?
We didn't have any.
Yeah, you didn't get stress cards.
No,
That's
no
all I've
stress
heard.
cards.
they didn't have stress cards when,
Yeah,
when
we
I
didn't
went
get
to boot
we
camp.
didn't
No,
get
We didn't have any stress cards either.
no,
That's what I hear about this new, softer, gentler.
Yeah, the new
Military.
softer, gentler military.
right when I was retiring, I was the assistant recruiter instructor, kind of operations chief to for the unit that we sent everyone down to Paris Island on recruiting duty, and that's when they started. They were combining the males and the females.
Yeah,
So they would put all the males on like lead side and females on follow side or whatever.
right.
So it started getting real weird.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole thing's gotten a little bit. It's different for my taste, but I mean, I'm not in now, so I can't judge. But I didn't plan on talking about this, but this is a good topic. What are some of the myths and the lies that you heard on recruiting duty? Because, recruiters get a tough card. They get dealt a tough card. Everyone hates recruiters. It's like law enforcement. Everyone just looks at them like they're the bad guy,
I'll be honest. 99% of the people that are on recruiting duty do not want to be on recruiting duty.
Right.
They don't want to make, I mean, recruiters are just working people in the Marine Corps. And I say that because even though they're not in a bush somewhere, camied out with CS gas raining in on them, they're calling high school students, making hundreds of phone calls every day.
Yeah.
They are in the trenches, in the streets, looking for these kids. So recruiting duty is it's kind for veterans and it's kind for Marines that have kids and they're like, hey, how you doing? If you're looking for a bumper sticker, the recruiting offices are a good place. But biggest myths, I would say that they lie to you about your job. I would say that 1,000%, because actually I worked at MEPS. I worked at every stage of someone joining the military, no matter the branch, but shipping. So, I've been able to see everything. And I think a lot of the misconceptions are, one, like I said, recruiters lying, picking about your job. I would say misconceptions about what is written and what is actually said. For instance, you could join and go MARSOC, right? You could join specifically and say, I want to go MARSOC.
Right.
But when you're filling out the statement of understanding for that, it says if you fail, you will not just go to an infantry unit. You can go to anywhere by the needs of the Marine Corps.
Right.
And that's on every program statement of understanding. And every kid has to initial that.
Yeah, as I say, it seems like that's something everyone has to sign. I mean, where you end up is going to be at the best needs.
It's really hard to get lied to. I think that the biggest thing that people, I think the biggest misconception is the reality. You can't make that reality. No matter, I'm going to say, recruit training. If you're going to boot camp, no matter Marine Corps recruit training, no matter where, you're not going to bring that intensity. You can't prepare someone for that, no matter
Right.
what branch. So I think people, they fraud themselves in. They get sent home on purpose. They come up with lies, because reality hit. So now what happens? If they don't make it through and they get sent home, my recruiter lied to me. I didn't get my job. They start coming up with all these things, and it's like, well, what did you do? If you frauded yourself in, you're voided that job now. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of background things people don't see, and it's just because they don't read everything, or they don't ask the right questions.
Let's be honest here. Nobody reads anything going into the military.
Very few people read anything.
There's a difference, though. The recruiter and the MEPS liaison have to go over each block with them.
So yeah, but we don't even speak English, man. Don't you know
that? At a certain point, when you're joining, yeah.
In the beginning, all right. After that, once you're in, you're signing everything because someone told you to. So let's move on. But no, I think it's real hard to it's like you said, it's the same thing as the police. It's hard to shine a positive light on someone joining the military to help them, provide them through the future, and no one is for that. Maybe not their parents, not their friends. Like, joining the military, I think is the least coolest thing to do now in this world we live in. So I think that, and I blame the high schools, because the high schools, these kids are so out of shape. It's ridiculous. Like, we have kids, the bare minimum just to join the delayed entry programs, 3 pull-ups. Excuse me, wow. 2 pull-ups, 3 to ship. And you have kids that have never seen the other side of the pull-up bar. They don't know what life looks like on the other side of the pull-up bar. So where do
you think they're failing these kids other than physical fitness? I mean,
I think,
because I'm right there with you, man. I agree wholeheartedly.
I think it's discipline from the beginning stages of elementary school. Probably it's the rearing of the kids while they're at school, the education, the respect of the teachers and the establishment, and the purpose. I think all that has went out the window to the authority, the people there, the stories you hear, what's going on in the schools. It's just ridiculous. I think each high school has its own problems across the nation differently for circus reasons. I mean, the silly reasons. I had people that sat outside and make sure no one smoked in the bathrooms. You know what I mean? We didn't have all these problems.
Well, like Eric said, man, soft timeouts in the corner. I mean, it's and shout out to Eric. Shout out to my mama who's on here. Shout out to Jason Steiner. He's also watching. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I think everything's gotten so soft anymore, and there's no real consequences for actions.
I think that, and when you guys were talking about the timeout, the stress cards, things like that, there's no stress card outside, the training environment.
Yeah, there's no stress card for life.
I guess that's kind of been like an ongoing joke, and I've never personally seen a stress card. I've been to combat as well, and so I guess it's always been an ongoing joke. But I went to Fort Jackson, which was called Relax in Jackson, and we had co-ed basic training. And so everybody's like, "Oh man, how was that?" And I'm like, "Well, they stayed on their side and we stayed on our side." And they're like, "The whole time?" I'm like, "Yeah, the whole time."
Yeah, it's like high school when you gotta go to the dance, and then all the girls are on one side and the boys are on one side, and nobody wants to talk because they're afraid to.
Yeah, and then imagine your principal, instead of being nice, happens to have a nice, solid plan of action.
You know what? And I think it holds truth, because when after I went, unless you're an infantry based unit, MOS, you go to Marine combat training, right? And you're out in the woods, you're doing GI Joe shit till I only went. It was 17 days when I went. I think it's 30 days now.
Yeah, it was 30 days when I was in.
Mm-hmm. But so you have those 30 days, and every off unit, every off cycle has a female unit coming through, probably, right?
Yeah.
We were out in the woods with them.
Mhm.
No one was thinking about the female Marines. When you were in
No.
recruit training, you weren't worrying about the female recruits. You were worrying about yourself. So I think that's a big miscommunication, because no one's trying to get busy in boot camp.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Well, that's not always true. You had some guys trying to get kicked out.
Hey.
You had some guys trying to get kicked out that were trying to get busy to get kicked out. I
Hey
mean,
man, you only get cut one time.
yeah. I mean, and I had never thought about that, what you were saying, where you said when guys get kicked out, then they have to make up excuses and lies. I never even thought about that.
That's
That
true.
never
I
crossed my mind,
witnessed
man.
it. Yeah, I witnessed it. I mean, and it doesn't impact them till they come back. You know, there's no sand fleas, there's no drill instructor, there's no one there. They're home again, and then they're trying to go back in, and it's like, well, it's not that easy, because drill instructors will tell them, like, yeah, just go back to your recruiter, you can come back.
Right.
Everything is, can it happen or will it happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so there's a lot of things like that, I believe, that are misconceptions out there that people don't see. And the Marine Corps recruiting is a business, but it's because people get out every day. So I think people fail to realize that, like, you might see a couple recruiting commercials and some things here and there, but the effort, that the war against recruiting is bigger than recruiters.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Counselors, high schools, teachers, parents, friends. It's a lot bigger than old sergeant
Yeah,
recruiter.
which I mean, kind of comes down to the whole, everything's gotten softer. I mean, you got parents that are trying to protect their kids, protect being the key word there, who think they know better. But we don't have a country of people that really understand what it costs and what it means to instill freedom into the country
Absolutely.
and the rights we have, which I hate seeing. But, it takes guys like us to help remind them of that and really get back to our grassroots of, it takes brave men and women to get out there and do what we do.
Absolutely.
And the fact that volunteerism is dying,
Mm-hmm.
Across the board. So the military, everything.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm glad you touched on that grassroots, because even like for this, going through and just reaching out to other veterans that you've never met, or being comfortable enough to have those types of people around you, that just says you're a solid dude already. Like, to me, that really stands out, because like having a grassroots effort, when you try and drive that from people from the top down, they can't do it. Like, those guys can't do it. And no offense to officers, but fuck officers. So they can't really fucking come down off their fucking high horse to talk to enlisted dudes, man. They don't even know the lingo. And sometimes that really puts them in a bind.
Oh, absolutely. I think what got me really catapulted in everything is just thinking about situations. I've had a bunch of people in my career on recruit duty that tried to take their life, and like, I was there, like, I was a recruiter, you know what I mean? And I'm like,
Right.
it sucks. It sucks if you suck. It sucks if you're good on recruiter. Like, it sucks regardless.
Right.
But a lot of people aren't, they can make it through recruit training, they become Marines, or they snap under pressure. They get deployed, or they get put in a position, and a lot of people ain't made for that.
Yeah, I
And
was going to say, we had guys at boot camp trying to dive off the third story onto their neck to get out of boot camp because they couldn't handle the stress.
And you volunteered.
Yeah.
So,
like, that's the weirdest part about it. You should understand going into it. It's not going to be easy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know anybody that's like, man, I signed up so I could just have like a cake ride in the military.
Yeah,
like,
that's what the Air Force is for.
Yeah, that's what the Air Force is for. Like, excuse me, you got a limousine to chow? You're in basic training.
Like, that's what we're here for, And I think there's a lack of understanding that life is hard, life is difficult, it's going to be stressful, and this is where I get kind of interested. Your big thing, you've got coming up here is Sitrep 22, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to hear about that.
So I can't say too much, so I don't want to put too much air out of the balloon. But Sitrep 22, I'm working with Mike from Contagion Effect. I'm working with
Right.
Dave from 22 Mohawks. It's a future technology, and it's gonna allow Marines, give them will, purpose, passion, drive them to have a goal every day. It's gonna be something that's gonna allow veterans to reach out to each other. It's going to be a future technology that's going to change things for veterans that are in that dark place, because it's easy nowadays to raise awareness. It's easy
Right.
to say that. I know you said it's difficult. It is, but what I'm saying, it's easy to raise awareness, to do push-ups, to throw statistics out. But when nothing's happening,
Right.
nothing's changing. I don't care how many push-ups people are doing, or extracurricular activities people are trying to do to raise awareness.
Right.
It's amazing, but it's not nothing's happening.
We're still not seeing changes.
Right.
No. So 22. I mean, Sitrep 22. Like I said, I'm working with Dave and Mike, and once that product is ready, available, it's going to be ready for veterans for use,
Well,
and it's going to change people's lives.
I tell you what, man, I'm excited about it. I'm super excited about it. I'm very proud to get to talk to you and have you on here, because you're putting in that effort to do that.
And then while that's taking time to get created, we're still in the basement of it, but to not just let that die, because I'll be honest, it is hard. Like you said, it is hard to do things like this, because you're not getting no attaboys. No one talking about veteran suicide, talking about veterans, talking about addiction, drugs, and veterans. And it's not the topical thing. It's not the cool thing to talk about.
And
So
that's where kind of we came up with our idea for the podcast, was we want to normalize that.
Yeah.
There's no reason why we can't talk about it. And
so
that was what me and TJ got together, and then we've kind of pulled Jeff into it as we've gone. But it's like, how do we help fight the stigma that surrounds mental health?
Right.
And that's make it a normal conversation.
Right. Like, I don't think that there's anybody that I would be willing to listen to anybody in any antic from any position, just for them to get it off their chest. Even if it was just them venting. They called me the next day and they're like, don't remember any of that. I'm like, okay. But, I don't think that's common enough anymore to be able to call your buddies up. And even if it's just a joke that you came up with, or, you follow dad jokes or something like that, just call your buddy and check on him. Because, buddy check is a real thing. And I use that all the time. And to kind of ping off your 22, that's a day that, hey, I send out a text, or, hey, I shoot somebody a message, or, hey, when was their birthday? Kind of easy checkup thing for me. So that's something that I do. And, I guess the other kind of thing of it too is some people aren't ready for it. So if they're like, what the fuck,
yeah.
Hey man, that's okay. I've been that guy. I've been like, what the fuck is this about? What did I forget? What, like, kind of being in that service mentality of like, fuck, what I forget. Like, you see that name come up on your screen, you're like, I'm not in anymore. And that takes a minute to process too. Like, I'm retired as well. And I mean, still today, like when I get a text message, I'll be like, fuck.
No, I'll be honest, man. I'm glad you brought that up, because I would have forgotten it. But I think that's the biggest thing. And that's what the biggest change in me has been, probably the last 2 years, is taking that wall down, because it's easy to throw it up. It's easy.
Yeah.
I moved. I don't know these people. I'm done. But that's who you need. That's the family. That's the foundation, I think. And I stayed so far away
Right.
from Facebook, not Instagram, but Facebook, because that was like grassroots people, people, Marines I know and everything. And then I came up with the idea, and it's just, when you have to reach out to somebody, and you don't want to. I had a buddy who's kept reaching out to me, and I finally talked to him, and we had the greatest conversation.
Right.
and I reach out to other buddies I had, and I'm the problem. You know what I mean? I'm the problem. You pick up the phone, you talk to them, and it's like nothing changed. And I think the stigma is everyone has that problem.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
So,
we do.
like
Yeah.
you said, someone calls me, I'm like, shh,
Yeah.
hey, what's going on? 20 minutes in the conversation, I'm glad I picked up the phone. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I think it's that fear of I think being seen, realness, and I think that the way you're trained and the way you're brought up in the military is, you put that shit away.
Yeah.
You keep everything tight. You don't
Yeah, you have
complain,
to.
And I think the more I thought, and I went through the Mission 22 program, and I tell you what, I was an ambassador of Mission 22, and I was like, I'm an ambassador. I had, like I said, I got out. I wanted to do everything. And then I became an ambassador of Mission 22, but I never went through it. I didn't know nothing about it. I know they do things, but I wanted to know more. So I went through the program just to check it out. And I'll tell you what, it actually changed different parts of me, because what you're that fear of remembering, that fear, those walls you put up, those doors with big locks on them, you don't want to visit places. And a lot of the trauma, I want to say, comes before you even join the military. But once you compound that with any kind of drama you face while you're in the military, or that lostness you feel once you get out, once you combine all that, you become a deadly weapon to yourself, because it's easy to get wrapped up in your own mind. It's easy to doubt your own abilities. It's easy to second guess your skills and what you're capable of. No matter how long you served, it's easy. You were Superman one day, and then suddenly you're not. And it's
Right.
and the mind, I believe the mind can play a lot of tricks on you. So
Yeah.
I think
There's a
reaching out.
there's a lack of purpose that you end up having. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it seems like we all had a mission and we were all able to succeed in that. We all knew what we were doing. We had a common goal, and then you get out, that's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do with it? And that's why I love seeing guys like you and everyone, because I think we all have a common goal again. And now
Oh
that
yeah.
common goal is how do we lower these numbers, because it ain't 22 anymore. It's more like 44.
Yeah.
And it sucks, like you were saying, man, we're not seeing any progress. We're not seeing change. We're getting awareness.
I think it's not going to be anything until the military gets involved in it. You're releasing people into the wild that aren't ready.
Yeah. I mean,
There's like so if you get arrested and you do a time in a penitentiary for a while, you might get left into a halfway house.
right.
You go to Afghanistan 5 times, you see a bunch of buddies get shot up or whatever the case is. You did your time. They give you a certificate.
Yep. That's it.
That's it. They give you
That's
a
it.
week of classes. You learn how to read. You learn how to fill out
You
your
learn how to
resume.
read.
Yeah, they didn't. Until the last week in the military, I didn't know how to read.
They teach you, you're going to be a big boy again. So you're going to go out to face the world. So we're going to teach you how to talk. We're going to teach you how to dress. We're going to teach you, you do your get out classes, and then that's it.
Yeah. There's
Quite calm.
who the heck? I can't remember which podcast it was. We talked about it, but we talked about, there's really no effort to teach you how to be a real human. You sit there and you're in the Marine Corps. Typically you got kids joining at 18, 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
Most cases, obviously there's exceptions to that rule. But you don't learn life when you're in the military. Everything's very structured. It's put out in front of you. They tell you how you're going to eat, how you're going to sleep, when you're going to shit, shower, shave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't really get a feeling of life. So when you're getting out, whether that's 4 years or 20 years later, now you're 22 or you're 36 or however old you are, you don't know how to deal with real life. You have no idea.
And I think I talked about it on my podcast before. Same thing. Like I went to boot camp when I was 19. I retired when I was 39, and now I'm 41. Like, am I still 18? Like,
Yeah.
you get put in a time capsule.
Yeah.
And how do we, it's like, how do we fight that? How do we change that?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the step? And like you said, the military has to get involved.
Yeah. It's going to have to be a culture change. And
Absolutely.
not this in, me personally, the culture change can't be we're accommodating pronouns over pronouns and non-U.S. personnel. We can't accommodate those types of people before we're accommodating our service members. And that's what we've seen time and time again since 2009. And it's mind-blowing that we're seeing one administration and then now another administration that continues to fight for the same goal. And that was exactly the opposite of what we were trained to do before we were sent to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right.
And that to me is mind-blowing. Like, you literally had a script that you wrote out for all the military members to understand and know. And not even within 20 years, you completely trashed it all up, circle bended.
And I think they're not prepared. I feel we're still dealing with, Vietnam, Beirut, first Gulf War kind of personnel. Like, I don't think the last 20 years, I don't think those effects haven't been felt yet.
No, we're not even close.
No, so I guess
felt.
like the early stages of what we're going to see are going to be the lung conditions that are already here. And that, the passing of the PACT Act, I think probably is the first step of getting ahead of having our generation be identical to the Vietnam generation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the support is there. It's also going to open the door to more studies to try and stay ahead of it. I just hope that that portion of the trend continues, because that's about the only thing we really got.
That was it.
Yeah.
There's not too much. The military's being made up as politics are changing.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, the script is being rewritten. I mean, you watch the State of the Union; those mummies didn't move.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what to think. Like, what is this guy like? When they're not involved,
right?
When the military's not involved in anything, it's bad to begin with.
It's not customary for the military to support the commander in chief in like a standing ovation. However, I don't know that I've ever seen a State of the Union be non-applauded all around. So,
and I mean, it's a thing right now where the country's basically turned into this giant petri dish where they're trying to test different political ideas and all that. And I don't like diving into that stuff personally, just because, it's not what I'm here for. But,
right.
It is leaning into the veteran world and into the world at large, where we have to start paying attention to it, and we have to. I mean, there's no other choice for us. And, I'm kind of learning that as I go now, trying to be more involved in helping, change. We have to change the script. I mean, and how do we do that? We have to take it to our politicians.
Yeah. And I guess one of the things that I've done is I've followed for Nebraska, our politics fairly closely. And I'll find reasons to why our senators should be supporting a bill, or why our congressmen should be supporting a bill. And, if we don't have that co-sponsor, and we're seeing a lot of other states push pretty heavy in that region, that's one of the things I'm like, hey, why aren't we co-sponsoring this? One example was the Major Richard Starr Act. It doesn't cost the taxpayer any dollars, $0. There's a military trust fund attached to it, and still they're struggling to get people to co-sponsor it. And that's mind-blowing to me. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
I think it's because that's a business within a business. I think the biggest struggle veteran mental health has now is the integration of the new civilian mental health and what is really mental health. like what a veteran's dealing with, or you've been on TikTok too long.
Yeah, man. Like
people are like, the vice president was talking about climate change and it's affecting people, and I'm like, what? Like, people are depressed about climate change, and I'm like, what? Like, that's the problem.
God, we're fucking privileged country, you know it.
So we kind of have to be our own advocates.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think we're the veterans are the biggest support group. If veterans were part of the support group, you have to get out of your own way and be there. Like you guys said earlier, you have to do the buddy checks. You've got to check in with people, because I had someone ask me, I made a post and someone said, it's hard to reach out to people if they don't say anything. And I'm like, well, they're not going to. That's why you have to say something, because they're not going to be screaming, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with this. They've already complained enough.
Yeah.
It's somebody
Mm-hmm.
at one point, and they got ignored.
Yeah, man. Like, some of these stories that are out there are fucking absolutely heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the stories I personally saw was a gal went completely homeless in Michigan. And she had volunteered for some of the largest name veteran support groups out there. And when she reached out for help, she was pretty much kicked to the curb, like just straight outed out of their entire group. It's still to this day, it blows my mind. The best help they could do is like, well, we can direct you somewhere close. And me personally, like, if I can't help them personally, I'll reach out to a larger organization. Like, hey, can you guys do something? Now, I guess I understand there's VSOs in every county and different things of that nature, but it doesn't mean every VSO is good. And, we found that out the hard way multiple times. But
I think just off of that, I think there's enough help, there's enough awareness, Derek, like you said, there's enough.
Yep.
But there's no actions.
Yeah.
Especially like that, like especially the big corporations, I got sick, and I don't do a lot of politics. I watch Fox News 24/7, but I'm not big on the politics. But if you just think about the amount of money they spent on the midterms, like $1 billion each, each side raised like $500 million for their senators and Congress people. And it's like, it's $1 billion that people are going to vote for free.
Yeah.
Right.
And think about
$1 billion that could have got donated to veterans, to do something with veterans to help them modernize their situation, and maybe not have them go to a clinic 2 hours away and sit there, and their only communication is Vietnam vets. So I mean, like, I don't think there's not enough reality for them. I mean, what's going on the West Coast? They're handing out tents, they're handing out things, they're handing out all this stuff, but there's more veterans homeless out of just life.
You can literally get paid to be homeless in California right now, $800 a month. That is crazy, man.
That's more than I got paid as a PFC.
Right.
Yeah.
You get paid more to be homeless in California than you do being in the military getting shot at. That's fucking crazy, man. Only in America.
It's first world problems at the same time, and we sit there and we have to deal with this, and we have to address it. And I mean, you're sitting there, the government's they've got $7 trillion that are unaccounted for.
Yeah.
And you sit there and you look at that and you're just like, it's mind blowing that we have the issues that we have. We're sitting here and we're looking at a VA system that's overworked, overwhelmed. Yeah. And how do we change this?
I think instead of hiring the IRS agents, they hire more VA facilities closer. Like for me, it's 2 hours each way if I wanted to go to a VA clinic.
Yeah, that's how it was for me.
I could go here in town, but then they're billing TRICARE or they're billing, it always becomes a headache. But if you had a facility that was more available for veterans, more up to date, more, trained people to help veterans, it'd be a lot easier. But there's a money thing there. There's a grant thing there, I believe. I don't know too much about it, but I know the VA probably only gets a certain amount of money, and they're still treating, like you guys said. I won't complain about the VA because people, if you've been there, you see that it's ridiculous the amount of people that they have to see.
Right.
And every time you go, you're going to see a different doctor. Like it's not the best at all, not even close. But like you said, it has to be a better way.
There wouldn't be veteran support organizations and veteran support groups if the VA was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we see that every day.
Yeah.
But Tom, you're very big. I follow you on social medias, and you do a very good job at getting the word out there about 988 and Red and just checking in on everybody. So with that being said, what do you think the best thing we can do as a community of veterans, and not even just veterans but heroes? What's the best thing we can do to get the word? How do we get the word out? How do we start flipping the script and getting to know people and understand how do we change the suicide problem?
I would say the first thing is relationships. The new shirt I put out, it's on the website. You got to contact, care, and listen. You're not just going to check in with someone and say, "How are you doing? Are you good?" You know what I'm saying? You got to have that genuine conversation. So if people are veterans, and some people, they might be a check in the box, squared away, good, all right. But it's the people you don't. So the community of building those relationships with people like this, people like I know everyone that through this little network. You know what I mean?
You're right.
So it's like these networks that keep building up and picking up, and podcasts and more veterans getting together creates the tidal wave of more word getting out, and then more people feeling more comfortable. The reason I started my podcast was the same reason you said earlier. We only hear about veterans doing amazing things. You don't hear about the guy who did 4 years, 8 years, 16 years and got out, or he got out. Like all these guys that are starting their own veteran-owned businesses. Maybe it might not be anything with veteran mental health or anything, but they're starting their own businesses, being supported by veterans. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I believe the veteran society has to bring it. You got to step up because we all have the same intensity. You know how to bring it. And when you have enough cohesion of people going the same way, it's going to make more people more comfortable. And I feel myself, when you're able to be more comfortable and just state how you feel and be able to integrate into society and not feel different or weird, then you're able to communicate a little bit better once you have relationships with people that make you feel easier to make contact with, and if you're dealing with issues before it gets too late. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing, is building those relationships. Not now. I think too many people look at it as it's their fault.
Right.
Or I wish I would have known. That's the biggest thing I always hear. I wish I would have known. And then you look and it's like, well, there's 1,000 signs. You didn't look close enough because there was no relationship there.
Yeah. Why didn't we know?
It's because caring.
Yeah, because we have to care about each other the same way we did when we were in.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think
we might be hundreds of miles now apart, but we still have the internet to be able to check on each other until we can see each other again.
Yeah, I think now it's the best place in time.
Yeah.
To you could FaceTime someone, you could get on the internet with them. Like no matter what, you could get a hold of somebody before.
Right.
And if you're not in that position, 988 is the best option, because I'm not that guy. I'd
Right.
stumble. If someone called me and they were, I would lead them towards 988, and with the professional. Or everyone likes to text now. Text them.
Right.
Once I found that out, I was like, you can call or text 24/7. And I think the biggest problem with that is not enough of those 988 locations are up and running enough throughout the nation, because they got a grant. Grant was running out, and a lot of those places, they can't fund them. They can't fund all the people. As we just talked about, the
Right.
boatloads of money get everywhere. But I think 988, caring, building relationships, and just honestly being involved in people's lives. You have to honestly care and get involved to be able to find out, because if you don't build that relationship, no one's going to, if you don't build that rapport, no one's going to tell you anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to build that rapport with them, talk with veterans, and lead them to the right places and check on them. It can't just be, hey, call 988, they'll help you. I ain't got time for your shit. And then you don't talk to them again until you find out bad things happen.
Right.
Right.
You got to follow up. Always follow
Mhm.
up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, like you said, and it does. It takes building the rapport, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here, is build that rapport, and that's what we love doing. It's networking, and if I can't help you, I know somebody else that can help you,
Right.
Absolutely.
and that's what we want to do. You know what I mean?
And and this is one thing I found out for my local VA. Their suicide hotline didn't work. It would tell you to press 7, and it didn't work. And so one night, I don't know what I was doing, but I decided I was going to try it, and it didn't work. And dude, like, that was the most disheartening thing I think I'd ever felt in my life, was like knowing that somebody could have called that and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so, like, after that, I made it my own personal mission to go get it fixed. But that's like the little things that people don't check on anymore too. Like, hey, did that technician actually check to make sure it worked? Or, you know, just verify that something works, because somebody may need it. It may not be you at that moment, but
Absolutely.
yeah, don't be afraid to use the resource ever.
Well,
And I think that's the stigma too. I believe that, if you're serving and you're in the military and you have to go to mental health, or you have to go see the wizard, or you're dealing with things, you already know you're going to catch shit regardless.
Right.
And I think that's the fear that I think it's always been there,
Yeah.
but the fear of going is even more. So I think being natural and being comfortable, it's easier when you're out. And I think that's the problem. It's not getting embedded to the military while they're in, that, hey, it's okay
Right.
that, if you're dealing with any issues or anything, because it's not going to affect your work performance. Because I think people are too worried about getting in trouble, or everyone's on their damn phone, where they don't want to take the time to go talk to someone, because that one conversation could change the whole path
Yeah.
of that person's day. And they could be on the straight and narrow, but they just had to be able to exhale.
Hmm.
And I think you
right.
have too many veterans holding their breath, and you can only hold it in for so long. So you got to get it out.
For sure.
Right. That being said, we've kind of hit our hour mark. I just want to give Tom you the platform here. Tell us everything you've been doing, what you're doing, what's to come, and then we'll get out of your hair, because I know you got things to do tonight. I know everyone else has things to do tonight.
But no, man, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's always great to talk to veterans. Army, it's good. That's good too. And Marines, that's even better. But I would say, Sitrep 22 is coming. It's going to be the future for veterans, and it's going to save lives. Until that comes, you could always see me every week, every Friday. I'm dropping a Every Second Counts podcast, and it's strictly for veterans that are dealing with mental health, motivation, whatever you dealt with your career to get your story out, because you're a hero and you made it. You're a warrior and you made it. And now your experience could help someone that's dealing with something right now, especially if you're older. Your experiences could help these young warriors right now that are either still in or getting ready to get out, no matter what. And I think
Right.
if you want to help support, you can go to sitrep22.org and help buy some shirts and help fund the effort, because freedom isn't free.
Awesome. Yeah. And we're going to sit there. We'll tag that into the show notes and whatnot. I can't be more happy to have you here, man.
Yeah.
And spreading the word, man. You guys are out there spreading the word. And I think we're building an army of people doing the right thing. Man. And I think enough people are going to start getting it, and awareness will be there'll be awareness flags. It will be powerful. And I think it's just taking now, over 20 years later, for everyone to feel the effects, to start saying, you know what, we don't have to be like the Vietnam era. We're better than that. We have more technology, and I think we could help save some lives together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big shout out to the Contagion Effect as well, Eric and Mike. Those guys are always doing incredible things. They're out there helping you. I love seeing that you guys have something big coming up. That's just amazing to me. Super excited about it.
And Dave and Stacy from 22 Mohawks.
Yeah,
I got to shout
22 Mohawks. I love 22 Mohawks. Dave and Stacy are amazing. It's awesome. This is what I was talking about by networking.
Absolutely.
We know Dave and Stacy. We know Mike and Eric, and I love all of them. They're incredible human beings. If you guys haven't, check out 22 Mohawks. Check out Contagion Effect. Make sure you do that. Like Tom said, every second counts. Check out his podcast. We can't wait to see what Sitrep 22 is and what all is going to be included in that. We typically end our show on what's something you took from the show. So I'll start with you, Tom.
I got one more plug. I got to shout out Warrior Wad.
Yes.
If you haven't listened to Warrior Wad, Phil Palmer, former captain, United States Marine Corps. He Purple Heart winner, outstanding dude. I chopped it up with him. Warrior Wad has an outstanding program for people to join, get 6 months gym membership, a dietitian for 6 months, and they're looking for buddies to check in. So go to warriorwad.org, or you can go to my page, my Instagram page, Tom_Ettinger81. In my links, I have the Warrior Wad. If you want to be a buddy that's contacting someone that's going through that 6-month program once or twice a week, just talk to them. And these are the people that are battling, and they get that 6-month ride, and Phil's doing incredible things with that. And the problem is buddies.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. I'd love to be a buddy. It sounds incredible. I need a dietitian too, because I've got fat. But
the biggest thing I took out of the show was I want to say it was you climbing the mountains in San Diego. That visualization, I visualized that the whole show. No, I want to say the biggest takeaway of the show is the platform that you gave me, and the constant work that you guys are doing to promote veteran mental health, veteran suicide, and veterans networking, connecting. And I plan on being at Hero Fest in September.
Hell yeah, man. I'll be there. I can't wait. And then we'll get to meet in person. It'll be amazing. I'm so excited about that. Jeff, what was your biggest takeaway?
Hey, man, Tom, just absolutely a pleasure to meet you. I definitely want to put that in there. And, I really appreciate the openness of both you gentlemen coming in tonight and, really helping break down that stigma of mental health. I think you both do an excellent job of that. And so here's both of your attaboys for
that's what I need.
I know you guys need more attaboys. You really do. I mean, nobody ever tells you guys good job, but both of you really good job. Excellent job.
The world. Thank you.
That does mean the world.
And Jason Steiner, he's going to be on next Friday. He's going to be on the podcast, so we'll talk more about.
Jason's amazing. I love
I'm
Jason.
excited
Jason was
for it.
watching. I can't wait to watch Jason on your show, man. He's an incredible guy. Just great to talk to. Pleasure to talk to, honestly. I can't wait to talk to him again. That being said, my biggest takeaway tonight was just, A, it was awesome to have both of you here. B, all the recruiter myths, awesome to talk about. It's stuff I never really thought about, and getting to talk about how the world's gotten a little bit softer, and really getting to hear your kind of take on relationships and what we need to do. That was the biggest takeaway for me, because I think you're absolutely right. And that's something we aim to do every week when we do this show.
Absolutely.
So I got to say, I can't thank you enough for being here. Jeff,
Yes,
I can't
sir.
thank you enough for being here, man. It's just been a pleasure and an honor for me. That being said, we're going to wrap it up for this week. And until next time, next week we'll have Ramiro Vasquez. Ramiro Vasquez. He's a Army sniper, and he'll be on the show, so be sure to tune in. We're really excited about that show. And until then, guys, I love you all. Have a good night.